Sairam, everyone. Just to introduce myself, my name is Disha. I'm a YA at the Fort Lauderdale Sai Center. I'm a dentist by profession, practicing with my family. Mr. Leonardo Gutter is currently a member of the Prashanti Council. He has served previously as the chairman of Zone 2, that is Latin America. He is a psychologist by profession with a very vast experience in his field. Since the last 30 years, Mr. Gutter represents some of the largest American, European, and Japanese TV and cinema studios in Latin America. He has worked in the Sai organization for over 31 years, and he's one of the founding and first coordinating committee members of the Sai organization in Argentina. Today, probably the country of the largest membership in the Sai organization in Latin America. Since then, Mr. Gutter has held numerous posts within the Sai organization, among which are founding member of Sri Sathya Sai Trust of Argentina, president of the first Central Committee of Latin America, and the Central Coordinator of Latin America. So please give a hand for Mr. Gutter.
Sairam. I pray and I offer my humble salutations to our beloved Bhagavan, who is here right now in the heart of each one of us, pervading everything all the time. I call upon His blessings and divine grace so He will guide us through this whole weekend. I give you my sincere welcome, and let me tell you I'm very, very happy of this opportunity and this honor to speak with you about His message and about His experiences. I really would need in the first section more or less 3 hours to be able to convey to you what I want to convey. I know that we don't have that time. I want to speak with you about my understanding of Bhagavan's message. I want to share with you also, I have selected 45 divine experiences I had with him that I would like to share. I don't know if we will have time. And I want to share also some practical methods that he has taught us how to live. I hope that he will open the ears of our hearts so you will understand my poor English. I'm sorry I'm not able to speak better, but I'm sure he will do the miracle. I would like to start by asking you a very simple question. Why are we here today? Why are we here today? Not just in this hall, but in this human body, being alive now. Swami says that we have 4 good lucks. If I don't speak properly, please let me know. I will try to find other words. The first one is to be born as human being. He says that there are 8.4 million forms of life in the universe. I had just shared with the youth one experience I had with Swami when I asked him in an interview about human forms of life in the universe, and if you remind me I will share his answer with you later. But he says that there are 8.4 million forms of life and the human form is the most difficult to get. Then we have another good luck, not just to be humans, but also to be humans at the same time when an avatar takes human form. This is very, very difficult. You know, every day people are born and are dying. The last avatar was, Shirdi Sai, and 5,000 years ago Krishna. Imagine the amount of human beings that were on planet Earth during these 5,000 years. Billions and billions and billions of human beings. But we are born at the same time when an avatar came. We have another extremely good luck. We know about this manifestation. At this moment there are 7 billion people on Earth, and let's say 100 million or 200 million know about the avatar. But I would add another incredible luck. We are not human beings. Not only we were born when the avatar came, not only we know about him, but the most important thing is this: we have been chosen as his disciples. And this is not something very easy to get. It is not that we have gone to him. He has called us, each one of us. He has made a special and sacred spiritual ritual with each one of our souls. He has said to us, yes, I will take care of you, I will protect you, I will guide you, I will be with you always. And this will last not for this life, but till we merge in him again. It's now our time to say yes to him. Yes, Swami, I will follow you, I will listen to your teachings, I will put them into practice in my life. Swami says, and it's very important for us to understand, that it is not important to love God. It's like putting a match and trying to give light to the sun. It's not important at all. The real important thing is to deserve God's love. This is what we must aim. To live in such a way that we deserve his love. Why are we here today? First of all, we are here because he has called us to this meeting, without any doubt. Second, we are here because he has touched our hearts. Let me share with you an experience I had with him. When I started to read about him, I was in another spiritual organization and I believed in another spiritual master. But then I started to listen about Swami, to know about him, and I said, who is who? Who is the avatar? Then one night I had my first dream with Swami. This was my very first dream with Swami. I was in the ashram with jeans, long hair. All this is part of the dream, okay? Don't go to sleep yet. And I was in a room with 5 more people, and a small room, and Swami came in. And I did like this. I was surprised why I was doing that. I was not a Sai devotee at that time, and I thought about myself, what I'm doing. And then I thought, if you are an avatar, I have to feel something special when you are close to me. So he started to approach me, and by the time he was by my side, I had the most incredible experience that is very difficult to describe. Even I would try, but it's not 1,000,000% of what I had. Waves of energy started to hit me, starting from the feet going up. But in each cell of my body I felt Ananda. You know when you put water to boil and there is a point when the bubbles of water explode? I felt that, and when each cell exploded, I feel Ananda. But I felt Ananda here, 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 here. Time was out of the question. In years of this plane could be, I don't know, 1,000 years, because it took the time for each cell to give me bliss. I didn't feel bliss here or here. I felt it in each part of my body, an incredible bliss. And the wave was going up and reached my head, and then another wave. When the third wave came, it hit my knee and I felt. And I lost all life in my body. My body was completely dead. Was flesh, dead flesh. I was completely awake. You know when you are going sleeping and your arm is slept or asleep, I don't know in English how you say. My whole body was like that. But I was completely aware, and I was looking at him, and I had a smile from ear to ear, and I was saying, he was ready to leave the room, and I was telling him, you are God, you are God, you are God. And he looked back to me, and he came to me, and raised me, and hugged me, and gave me 3 kisses in my heart. And I woke up. That is why I'm here now. And you are here because whether you know it or not, whether you know it or not, all of you have received a kiss in your hearts. So we are here because He has called us to be here. We are here because we are very lucky. On my first trip to India, I had many experiences since the moment I said yes to Him. On my first trip to India, He was traveling in the south of India. I knew He was going to Chennai, Madras at that time, so I went there. One day, if I tell you all the experiences I had in that day, I will need 6 hours instead of 3. But that day, there was a public meeting in Abbotsbury, in a public place in Chennai, Madras. I went there, and I was lucky enough as to be seated not far from where Swami was seated to watch the cultural play. So they were preparing all this program, and I was, let's say, Swami's chair was there and I was here. So I decided to introduce myself to him. So I stood up and I went to him. I had a business card, visiting card. And I went to him, no one stopped me. Excuse me, Swami. I said, Swami. And he looked at me and he smiled, he took the card, and I was introducing myself. And he looked at me very nicely and he said, you are very lucky. And he slapped my hand. You know, I thought that he didn't know who I was, how naive I was. I didn't know who he was. So he said, you are very lucky. Yes, not me only, all of us. We are very lucky because we are here. We are with Him. We are not aware of it. That's why we are sad. We have so many problems, because we are not aware of how lucky we are. We have to be more aware. The purpose of this meeting is to be more aware. This is one of the purposes of this meeting. Why are we here today? Let me tell you another important reason. We are here today because we have failed in our last life to awaken. This is very important to remember. We have failed. We didn't have the determination, the intensity that we needed in our last life. So the important thing is to have it in this life. We must not live our lives driven by all these biological, mechanical rituals, answering to the needs of our mind, our emotions, our physiological needs. We must live with consciousness, with more intensity. It is like a treasure hunt. You know, a treasure hunt, you need 4 things. The first is to have faith that there is a treasure. Faith. The second is to have the desire to find the treasure. Without it, we will never look for it. The fourth is a map, a guidance. The third. And the fourth is to dig without stop, with intensity, till we find the treasure. So we are here because we have faith. We are here because we have a desire to know more. We have a guide, a master that is guiding us through his teachings. Now we must dig till we find the treasure. It's up to us to do that work. We have started this process long ago. You may have traveled some miles, hundreds of miles to come to this meeting, but let me assure you that we have traveled thousands of lives to be here today. We have started this Leela one day when God decided to forget who He was, and we appeared as minerals. We lived as minerals thousands of years. Then one day we woke up and we thought we were vegetables. We lived as vegetables millions of years. One day we woke up and we thought we were animals. We lived as many different forms of animals till one day we were either a horse, monkey, cow, cat or dog. One of these 5 forms, the last animal forms. And we woke up and we were human beings. And then another process. First, animal behavior. Human form, but animal behavior. Then we continue, perhaps, human form, but demonic behavior. There is a point when we have human form and human behavior. What is the goal? To have human form and divine behavior. This is the process we are immersed. Swami is with us all the time. When he was in the form of Sathya Sai Baba, he had a Maha Mantra. You know it? The Maha Mantra of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. You are all sleeping. If you sleep, I can speak in Spanish. That's you understand. The Maha Mantra of Swami is, why fear when I am here? This is the secret. The Maha Mantra is the most important teaching, the clue for us. Why fear when I am here? I am here. Prashanti, I am here in your house, I am here in your heart. He's here all the time. What was the Maha Mantra of Shirdi Sai Baba? You know? Patience, no. The Maha Mantra of Shirdi Sai Baba was I don't understand. No. No, the Maha Mantra is, these are the teachings, but the Maha Mantra is the clue. How to perform our sadhana. Shirdi Sai Baba said something very simple. You look to me, I look at you. That was a secret. That secret is all what we need. This is the secret of all spirituality. You look to me, I look to you. To you, at you, I don't know the correct way. What is behind this? When we think about God, God is there for us. It's so simple. We have to think about Him all the time. That is what we need. We need to live not part-time spiritual life. We have to live an integral life. What means an integral life? When we live with the awareness of the presence of God all the time. When we live with that awareness, then we will reach the point of the constant integrated awareness. But the first thing is to think about His presence. That will solve all our problems. If we think about His presence all the time, His omnipresence, then we will behave better, or not? Yes? Yes. Are you alive? Yes. Okay. That is the secret. We have to use imagination. The imagination starts when we wake up in the morning. I spoke with the SSE children this morning. What is my advice? First advice, wake up in the morning and before going out of bed, think, Swami was sleeping by my side. So turn to him, give a kiss to him in the cheek and say, good morning, Swami. Do that, okay? I will ask you my next trip. If you don't do it, I will be very angry. Start the day with God. Swami says that or not? When does your day start? When you wake up in the morning. Start there. Give a kiss to him. Go with him to the bathroom, wash your teeth with him. Then go to have breakfast with him. When you have breakfast, you say a prayer, right? Right? What is a prayer? Ritual. Don't say a prayer. Just take your food and tell him, Swami, please eat you first. And I will not eat if you don't eat. And have your breakfast, offer him your breakfast and please, Swami, eat a little. When you feel that he has said, okay, my child, I eat, you can eat, then you eat. That food became prasadam. It was touched by him. Then you go to work with him. Have with him in your car. Feel his presence by your side. And then you go back to your house with him, have dinner with him, offer him the food, and then go to bed with him. And when you go to bed, the last thing you have to do is telling him, Swami, I wish you a beautiful dream. Please let me have dreams with you. Give him another kiss and go to sleep. This is a day with Sai. All the other things are not important. If we live in the constant awareness of his presence, then all will be accomplished. You don't need to do any mantras, you don't need to do anything, because you will be all the time with this purity of His presence in you. What is the spiritual path? It's a path of purification. It's like having a glass, and the glass is very dirty. All our lives, past karmas, being a mineral, a vegetable, an animal, a human being, more animal than human, we made many mistakes. The glass became very dirty. Spiritual path is to clean it. Clean it so we can see clearly God, who is standing on the other side. So our life is to clean the glass and not to put more dirt on it. That's the secret. One day, Swami asked me, what is spirituality? I said, to go within. He slapped my face. Spirituality is not to go within. Spirituality is to eradicate the bad qualities. To do good, be good, think good. This is the real spirituality. It's not special mantras. Just be good. Clean the window. Clean the glass. We have to be cautious all the time that we are cleaning the glass, that we are not putting more dirt on it. So our life and the teachings of Swami is very simple and very practical. We have to be all the time conscious of what we do. It's like, you know, we went to a gym. Tell him that I cannot answer now. You go to a gym, you want to have a body like mine, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So you start with 1 kg, 1 kilogram. At first it is heavy, right? After a month of doing this, the weight will feel nothing. You can remain with 1 kg because it's so comfortable. I go to the gym. So I did what I have to do. Nonsense. I have to have 2 kgs. 3 months later, 5 kgs, 5 kilograms. Because if not, the muscle will never grow. Then 10, then 20. The muscle will grow with more. Sadhana means spiritual effort. If you don't feel an effort, you are not doing what you are supposed to do. When I started my spiritual path, I was working very intensely as a psychologist. And one day, a patient came. There was a lady, but she brought her 12 years old daughter with her. So I was surprised, and I said, listen, it's for you or for your daughter? She said, no, it's for my daughter. Well, the mother was afraid that the daughter was psychotic, crazy. So I interviewed the daughter, and I soon realized that the daughter was not psychotic at all. On the contrary, she was a very high evolved soul. 12 years old. She could see you and tell you your health, every organs of your body. She could tell you when you are going to die. She remembered very well how she died in her past life. You could go outside this room and change the time on your watch. From here she would say you put 2:15, you put 4:20. As many times as you wanted. From here she would tell you what time you have changed. You could write something in a piece of paper and put it on the other side. She would put her hand and read all what was written there with her hand. You understand? I had another patient who was suffering from his kidneys. I gave her a photograph. She did like this. Oh, the kidneys of this man. It took her 2 seconds. Are you following me?
Yeah.
When I realized, at that time I was reading a lot of books about spirituality or the theory, that for me was like sci-fi. Very nice, but is this true?
Right.
So when I met this girl, I said, wow. Other than Swami, she was a practical example. And also 12 years old. An old man could play a lot of tricks, but an innocent girl of 12 years. I stopped treating her as a patient, and for 3 years I used to go every Sunday to their house. I took croissants with me to have tea, coffee with them, and I was enjoying her clairvoyance, and I was giving back my theoretical explanations to their family of what was happening with this girl. For 3 years I was doing that every Sunday. One day that girl said, Jesus appeared to me. She could tell you all the spirits that were by your side, but she said Jesus appeared to me and told me to meet all of us next Thursday at 8 p.m. Of course, that Thursday I went to her house. A couple of minutes before 8, I felt an incredible vibration, and the girl said, Jesus is here. So she started, like Jesus took hold of her body and started to perform a kind of mass. Mass?
Right. Yeah.
But then she wrote something on a piece of paper. He blessed bread and told us to give that bread to very sick people. We took the bread. We went to see very, very sick people. Half of them died after eating the bread, and half of them were completely cured. But the point is, I took that piece of paper that he wrote with her hand to a translator of all languages, because it was something ununderstandable, and he couldn't understand what was written there. When I was leaving, he called me back and he said, wait, wait. And he had the idea of putting that paper in front of a mirror. The 12-year-old girl, Jesus, through her, wrote in that piece of paper only one sentence. The sentence said, you are not doing enough. I will always remember that, and now you have to remember that. We are not doing enough. When is it going to be enough? For a person who goes to a gym when he has a body that he likes. For us, when we wake up, when we realize that we are he, when we realize our I. Till then, we are not doing enough. We are here because Swami wants us to press the accelerator a little more. I always give the example of a Ferrari. You know the Ferrari Formula 1 car? You know? Each one of us, believe it or not, has received a Ferrari when we were born. The problem is that we have 4 different kinds of drivers. Okay? One driver, all these are spiritual aspirants. One driver is in the Ferrari, says, oh, this is a dangerous car, I will go very slow because I could kill myself. Another driver is a little more stupid, goes with the feet on the brake, more afraid. The third driver, even more stupid, put reverse. But there is a fourth driver who believes in Swami and says, if Swami gave me this car, he has confidence that I could reach the goal and press the accelerator at full speed. So choose what kind of driver you are. Are you going to do it slowly? Slowly. Let's say we go to the center once a week, we sing bhajans, now it's done. I go once a month to do some service, it's enough. What kind of spiritual sadhana are you doing? How fast are you going with your Ferrari? Swami gave you a Ferrari because he believes and he knows that in this lifetime you can reach the goal. But if you are going very slow, or if you put reverse, you are not going to make it. So it's up to us. You know, many, many lives ago, we reached the spiritual life. At the beginning, we felt some discontent with feeling that living was just eating and drinking. We felt that there was a higher purpose. Then we became in the spiritual path. But one day we realized that by ourselves we couldn't go anywhere. So we prayed for a guidance. The master appeared. We became spiritual aspirants. And then at that moment, our process began to go faster. We have to reach a position where we realize that it's not just a matter of reading books, knowing by heart the content of the books, but just very simple, to put into practice those teachings. Then we become devotees of God. We become devotees that want to please God. That is all what we have to do. Each one of us has to think, how are we living? How are we living our life? We have duties to be in the world, be father, mother, citizen, work in a place. But we can do all that while all the time we are conscious of our reality, that we are God, that we have to realize that we are God, and we have to do that with the awareness of Swami's presence in our life, at our side, behind, in front, above, inside. Spirituality is very simple. Let me share with you some practical methods. One is what I have already told you. Please remember, there will be a test at the end of this meeting. Those that fail will lose this lifetime. Okay? Second, practical discipline. The most important of all. I will share with you this, but only if you promise to me that you will put it into practice what I'm going to tell you now. From now on till you die. Okay? If you are not ready to promise that, close your ears. Because I'm serious. Because once you hear this, if you do contrary of what I tell you, it will be a very bad karma to you. You know, when we do something unknowingly, we don't know that it's bad, the karma we'll get is, let's say, 5%. But if we know that it's bad, the karma we get is 100%. As you are going to know, I warn you that the karma you're going to receive will be very bad if you don't do what I'm telling you. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Which is the most important practical spiritual discipline we have to follow? Dear brothers and sisters, from this moment onwards, you will never criticize another human being. Okay? Not in word, not in feeling, not in thought. If you find criticism coming out of you, do this. Heavier than this. It's better to have the red face than the bad karma. You know, if we are able to stop criticizing, which is the biggest hobby of the world. It's not baseball, it's not basket, it's not American football. Criticizing is the most amusement for everybody. If we stop that, the purification we will receive is incredible. Swami will be waiting for you when you die and will tell you, welcome, you reached the goal. But we must be very careful in every instance of our life. Another spiritual practice. You will write in a piece of paper a sentence. The sentence says, I'm going to die. Every day when you wake up in the morning after giving a kiss to Swami, you will read that. And you will think about that. Till you become very sad. Almost till a drop of tear comes from your eyes. Because you have to realize that you are going to die. The problem is that the only thing that we are certain is that we are going to die. And the only thing we don't want to think is that we are going to die. And the most important thing for a spiritual aspirant is to remember that. Swami says that we have to remember our death, and this is very important. Perhaps you haven't paid attention to his message. If we remember every day that we are going to die, then we will try to live with more purpose. Right? Because you will be aware that we cannot take anything with us other than our good or bad actions. When you get really sad, so let's say you woke up in the morning, you gave a kiss to Swami, you're very happy that he was sleeping by your side, but then you took this piece of paper and you read, I'm going to die, and you become very sad, depressed. Instead of taking a pill against depression, you will get another piece of paper that you will write. You can put a plastic on it so it will last for a long time. And the next piece of paper says, not yet. Okay? So happiness comes back to your souls. And you will think, well, what I'm going to do in this not yet time. This is very, very important. Okay? First, practical method, living with Swami, starting the day with Swami, kissing him. Second, not criticize. Third, remember that you are going to die. Fourth, you wake up, you go to the bathroom to wash your teeth. Before doing that, spend one moment in front of the mirror and look at yourselves. This is easier than meditation. Everybody pretends to meditate, but I don't know what is going in their minds. This is much easier. You stand in front of the mirror, you look at the mirror and you think, I am here looking at myself. I exist. You have only to think that you are alive, that you are existing. Do you understand? May I speak in Spanish?
Not yet.
Not yet. So think, I exist. Three things you will think. First, you have to go deeper into this awareness that you are existing, that you are alive. I am alive, I am alive. I exist, I am alive. Second, after a moment of thinking that you are alive, or realizing that you are alive, that you are existing, you think, and I am conscious of being alive. Okay? Not only I am alive, there is a human body here alive, but I am conscious of it. And then the third, I want to be happy. What I want, I am alive, I'm conscious, and I want to be happy. Is it true?
Yes.
If you don't want to be happy, go to a psychiatrist. So, three things, Sat, Chit, Ananda. 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. If you do that, you will tune your consciousness in the right direction. Okay? Then, another spiritual practice. Read as many times as you can during the day some message of Swami or some spiritual message. Don't read these New Age books. Okay? Don't go to this The Secret and all this New Age. Go directly to the source. Go to the teachings of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, Shri Sai Baba, Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, Paramahamsa, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Vivekananda. Go to the real thing. Read a little. Read a little, because reading you will tune your consciousness. So perhaps in the morning while taking the breakfast, instead of the newspaper, read something of this. And also before going to sleep, because you are going to spend 6, 7, 8 hours in the astral plane, if you read something spiritual, you will be in a higher plane, believe me. Okay? And then another spiritual practice that we must do is what Swami says. Repeat his name as many times as you can. Go to the work repeating his name while you drive. Cook repeating his name. The name and the form are all powerful. When we repeat the name, the purification is happening. An incredible purification. So all our aura is being purified. So why don't get advantage of this? Swami is all the time telling us to repeat the name. So these are spiritual practices that we must put in practice in our life in a real way. Swami has given us, let me tell you some experience so I will not bore you so much. In my first trip, when I went to India, I saw him for the first time. The first time he was in Madras, and I was seated. They put me on the first line on the side, and Swami came. Before he came, Swami was expected in Madras. No one knew when he was coming. Suddenly my heart started to beat very fast, and I said, what is happening to me? I thought that I had a heart problem. At that moment, Swami's car came. From that day, every day I knew when Swami was coming out for darshan, because first my heart was going to beat. And I always say that my heart recognized him much earlier than my mind. The first darshan I had, Swami came by my side, and when he was standing in front of me, he was raising a flag, and I looked at him and I said, the first thing that came out of my mouth, I said, Swami, I want to see you, meaning I wanted to have an interview with him. And he looked back at me, and he didn't open his mouth, but in my head I heard the voice, but you are seeing me now. His voice in English, but not with the mouth, but was the first telepathic experience I had with him. And I was like that, and I said, no, an interview. He smiled and left. So This is how everything started with him. Then he went back to, he left Madras. I asked him permission to wait for him in Whitefield. He was going, I don't know where. I went to Whitefield, then he came to Whitefield, and then we went to Puttaparthi. We were in Puttaparthi, and 20 days later, or 30 days later, I was going to leave. And Swami came in the morning. This was the last night, the night before, I was in the room, and I had so many experiences with Swami that I realized that he was a Purna avatar. So I took a piece of paper. I was at that time vice president of another spiritual organization in Argentina. So I took a piece of paper and I wrote my resignation in a piece of paper to that position, because I said I have found the avatar and I want to give myself completely to him. And I left it there. In the morning, Swami came out for darshan. At that time, he always went first to the ladies, then to the gents. But that day, instead, he came out of the mandir and came straight to me. And stood in front of me, looked at me, and he said, "Yes, I will see you. I will see you today." I said yes to him last night. He said yes to me next morning. So he gave darshan, and he told me that he was going to see me in the afternoon. And I thought, when darshan was over, that I could go directly to the interview room and wait there for the afternoon darshan. At that time there were not many sevas, but one stopped me and told me, "It's not like that. You have to come back for darshan in the afternoon. He has to call you again." I didn't want to argue with that person, but I thought that he didn't like my face. He was spoiling my divine opportunity of my first interview. And I went to my room and I was very sad. Imagine, I was thinking, Swami will not remember. Even if he remembers, he will not find me. So darshan came. I was at that time in the third or fourth row, that at that time was very, very in the back. I was like Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, despondent is a word. Very sad, thinking my opportunity was lost. Swami came out for darshan from the mandir, and from there he didn't look for me. He just raised his head and looked straight to me. And from the veranda he shouted, "You!" And he was calling me, so I was so scared. I almost jumped and went to him, trembling, "Yes, Swami." He said, "Go." The most wonderful word. In the interview room, I asked him if the others Argentinians would come. He said yes. So we're all there, and he was talking to us, and suddenly he approached me and started to tell me all what was going in my mind since the morning. That he was not going to find me, that he was not going to remember, all that. And suddenly he came close to my ear and whispered in my ears these words. He said, "Swami will never disappoint his devotees." This promise, I always keep it in my heart. Not only for me, but for all of us. He will never disappoint us. Disappointment in English is a word very complex. It also implies he will not miss the appointment. We have to be sure not to miss the appointment with him. We have to be sure not to disappoint him. He will never disappoint us, believe me. What we must do in this life is to live with more intensity our connection with Swami. He says always he's the fire, and we feel the heat if we are close to the fire. So think how close you are to the fire of Swami, and get closer. This is the important thing, because as I told you before, sorry, you are going to die. Sooner or later you are going to die. Take advantage now of this opportunity of receiving the full grace of Swami and awaken. This is the purpose of our life. We are here to awaken. Why are we here, as I said before in this meeting? We have been called here by Swami. We are here because Swami has touched our hearts. We are here because he has chosen us as his disciples. We are here to get a deeper understanding of his message. We are here to know better ways to put his message in practice in our lives. We are here to increase the yearning that we have to wake up. We are here to increase our love for Swami. We are here to find ways to put this love into action in our lives in society. We are here for many, many purposes in this meeting. We are here to have satsang, to have inspiration, to be motivated, to press the accelerator more fast. That is the purpose why we all came to this weekend meeting. So let's go on Monday when you go back to your houses with more determination, or more inspiration, with more motivation, and share it. Share it with as many people as possible. When Swami formed the Prashanti Council, he invited us to his room, to his house. He took us to his house and spoke to us and spoke a lot about spirituality, about our duty, about how to perform our duty. But suddenly he paused and he told us something very, very important. He made it clear that this was the important thing. He said to us, go to every corner of the world and take my message there. This is our duty. This is the duty not only of the members of the Prashanti Council, but for all of us. We are here not only to awake us, we are here to help as many people as possible to awake. You know, merit and sin. Sin is any action that detracts the consciousness of God in the world. Merit is every action that promotes this consciousness. So we must be warriors of the divine mission. What is the divine mission? It's very simple. The divine mission is to elevate the spiritual consciousness in this planet. He has come on earth not only for each one of his devotees, but to raise the human consciousness, the spiritual human consciousness. We are his instruments. All of us are going to be not just witnesses of the most incredible change of human consciousness, but we have the chance to be instruments for it. So we have to do the best we can, so the last day of our lives we can face him, meet him and say, Swami, I did my best. And he will tell us, welcome, you did your best, I'm very happy with you. So let's be sure that we do our best to spread his message. This is not something that we do to increase the members of the Sai Center. Let me be very, very clear about that. We did a public meeting in Paraguay. In Latin America, we did a couple of years ago 108 public meetings. What was the purpose? Well, the purpose is not to bring the Sai devotees into the Sai fold. The purpose is that whenever a person, a human being, when we organize a public meeting like you did for this retreat, we come together, we work together, so the time becomes sacred. Remind me about the photograph of Swami, Jose. Okay? I don't want to forget. I have to share more experiences because I will need to stay here for 4 days if not. So, what I was saying? So, what is the purpose of the public meetings? The purpose is that, first of all, we come together to organize it. When we come together, satsang, we energize, we'll reach more unity, right? Because working together, and also, it's like when you are here, after 10 minutes of being in this hall, all our auras are 100% more big and more pure. Just for being here. We didn't meditate, we didn't do anything, just being here. So the company, the satsang of spiritual people cleanses us. Second, we get more energy, and then we decide to spread the message. We don't want the people of the country to become Sai devotees, but we know that the image of Sai is all-powerful, that whoever sees a picture of him will get an incredible purification just for seeing it. We have that faith. When they know their names will go into their hearts. In spirituality, it's like a diksha. You know what is a diksha? It's a spiritual seed. Whoever sees a photograph of Swami or reads his name, a spiritual seed will go into his spiritual heart. This seed is going to germinate, yes or yes. We don't know when, in 1 month, in 1 year, in 10 years, in 20 years, or in 10 lives. But at the right time, this seed will sprout. So we are doing a best service. Swami said, what is the biggest service we can do? Swami said it very clearly. In one of his birthdays he said, the best service we can do is to work in the Sai organization. They are very unfortunate, those that leave the Sai organization. Don't leave it. Why? Because in the Sai organization we share the real spiritual message, the most important message for the human beings to advance in their spiritual path. So, when we do a public meeting in Paraguay, this is what came to my mind. In every other street, in all the city of Asunción, was a poster of Swami. A big poster, we put it in the trees, in the columns. So if you went around the city, every other block there was a picture of Swami. Also in all the health food stores and everywhere. To the public meeting, 600 people came. But I think that 2 million people saw a photograph of Swami. We put an ad in the newspaper. Oh, remind me an experience with in Córdoba, Rosario. We will skip lunch and I will tell you experiences. Our lunch will be Sai experiences, okay? So, what happened? Let me tell you, in Paraguay, when it rains, I will tell you 2 stories in one. When it rains, it's like the monsoon in India. No one goes to the streets. No one goes out because the sky falls. Before the meeting, in the afternoon, raining started to come. We thought no one is coming because it was raining like crazy. 1.5 hours before the meeting, the rain stopped. No clear sky. The hall was filled with people. 45 minutes after the meeting was over, the rain came back. Also, there was a prepared piece of bread and a flower for each person that attended. When the last piece of bread and the last flower was there, no one else came. Swami made every detail perfect. But the important thing is this. When we made this public meeting and we put the advertising on the newspaper, so many people saw his photograph. We went to the radio programs to speak, to the TV programs to speak about Swami, to advertise the public meeting. So the goal was not to bring 1,000 people to the public meeting or many people to the Sai Center. That doesn't matter. Even perhaps one person will come to the Sai Center. But our duty is to spread the message. We know that spreading the message is that doing a vaccination. You know, we discovered the vaccine against polio and we give it to every person. We don't want their gratitude. We know that they have been cured. So spreading the name, the form of Swami, is like giving the divine vaccination. They will have 10 lives less. A ton of karmas, bad karmas less. This is the real spiritual service we do. So this is the duty that we have as spiritual aspirants. This is the opportunity we have working in the Sai organization. So what I see in America is a shame. Sorry to tell you. You are the richest country in the world. I was sharing with a brother the other day, you know the average income in Argentina per month? A good income. You know?
No.
The income is more or less per month $300. Good income. 400, very good income. Dollars per month. Okay? Things are more expensive than here. Food is much more expensive. A car is 2 or 3 times more expensive. A computer is 2 times more expensive. And whatever you want to think. Okay? That is why the Argentinians that can afford come to the United States to buy a TV set or a computer, because even paying 50% of the tax or 20% is cheaper. And the income is so... In Argentina, we have, I don't know, 50, 60 Sai centers all over the country. But the Sai centers are owned or rented, open every day of the week, most of them. You can go to a Sai center Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There are activities every day. You can go one day to one activity, the other day to the other activity. The Sai Center becomes your second home. Imagine you go to work, then you go to the Sai Center, and then you go to your home. Your consciousness is completely changed. How is it possible that here, in the most biggest country in the world, Sai Centers are in your homes 1 hour a week? It's like having a disease and taking a pill to cure you once a week. You can be sure that you will never be cured. It's like having the Ferrari and going in reverse. You know, it's a silly thing. Take advantage of the opportunity, because every religion, every spiritual movement, the first thing they did was satsang, the meeting of the spiritual aspirants. It's the first step. The mosque, the synagogue, the Catholic Church, Swami, come together, Sai organization, because it's very important. It's the way to cure ourselves. By alone we will take 100 lives. Together we can do it in one life. So do whatever you like, but you are harming yourself like this. Second, what I said before about the Sai mission. This is a test. What is a Sai mission? I think you are ready to fail. I have just spoken about that. Eh? Warm but not. No. I have just said it. Why did Swami came? But you are forgiven because I speak in a very incredible language. What? Swami came to raise the consciousness of all humanity. Very good. How many people live in the United States? 300 million. I'm a little deaf, so 300 million. So you have to reach 300 million people. In Argentina, I would tell you that 80 or 90% of the population know about Sathya Sai Baba. He's so well known that if there is a soap opera on TV, listen to this, if there is a soap opera on TV, one of the characters will perform as a Sai devotee. And they will have in their table near the bed a picture of Swami. He's so well known. When Swami passed away, the main pages of all newspapers spoke about it. 2 pages, the main pages. Every newspaper. He's known. Swami one day went to a child, to a teenager that was in the ashram, looked at him and he said, "You are going to be the leader of your country." That boy became the president of El Salvador. The president of Venezuela now, Maduro, is a Sai devotee. When he used to come back from India, Chavez used to ask him, "What are the teachings of your master?" And Maduro was going to tell him, and in the next radio program, Chavez was going to repeat all the teachings of Swami. There are so many Sai devotees everywhere in every Latin American country. In Cuba, no one went to India. No one. There's Cuba, you know how much they make in Cuba per month? Do you have any idea? A doctor may do $12 or $15 per month. They live because they receive a card and they can buy food. This food will allow them to live for half the month, not more. Then they have to buy food. But if they have to buy food outside this card, it may cost a bottle of oil $12. And imagine, a doctor was making $12 in the whole month. So they have to do something in the black market to buy things. If you go to Cuba, there are not public transportation. Perhaps I went there, and once I devotee, I have to take him to one place. From there, he was going to walk, I don't know, half an hour to reach another place to go back to his house. It's a country with, if you are born in a house, don't think about buying a new house. You, your son, your grandson will live in the same house. Don't think about painting the house. You know, these conditions, it's not like in the United States, it's a little more uncomfortable, right? Can you realize this? I used to call Marcos Verdugo from Argentina, he would tell me, yes, yes, come to drink a coffee with me, because he was afraid of talking through the phone because everybody could hear him. Living in that condition is not easy. When, you know how it started in Cuba? One day, one flight attendant asked me for a picture of Swami to give it to a Hatha Yoga teacher who was interested to know about Swami. She wanted to tell him about Swami. So I gave her the picture, the photograph. He took it to that person. Within a couple of days, that picture, that photograph started to produce vibhuti. One of the students of that Hatha Yoga teacher had to go through a heart operation. So that Hatha Yoga teacher gave a little of vibhuti. The next day the student was taken to the surgery, and before starting the surgery they checked on him and the problem has disappeared. The boy was completely cured. Like this started, they reached 108 site groups in Cuba, all over the island. No one went to India ever. The government closed the site organization because I think they thought that they might take over the country. But they still meet, they still grow, and there are devotees everywhere. In Cuba, Haiti, Guyana, name the country. Name the country. Every country in Latin America is reverberating with Bhagavan's name. In a small town in the middle of the jungle, in Guatemala, 300 boys, Indian boys, are singing bhajans once a week. Once a doctor from El Salvador, he got his, finished his career, he has to go to do his residency in a small town in the middle of the jungle. He took a jeep, went there, in the middle of the way the jeep was broken. No way to make it work. So he said, I'm in the middle of the jungle. So he left the jeep and started walking. No town, no nothing. Became dark. He got very scared. Suddenly he heard people screaming. A group of villagers, completely drunk, with machetes, were screaming and noising and completely drunk. He said, they are going to kill me. He was really scared. Imagine in the middle of the jungle, in the middle of the night. He prayed to God. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a jeep came, stopped him, told him, come in, and took him and went directly to the town where he had to go and stopped in the house where he was supposed to go. He didn't say anything. When he left the jeep, he said, please let me pay you, let me offer my gratitude. The driver said, no, no, you don't owe me anything. Well, how can I call you? He said, call me your midnight friend. 10 or 15 years later, that doctor saw in a book the photograph of his midnight friend. Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. One day, I will tell you some of my experiences. I don't know where to start. Miami. We are in Miami, right? Florida. I was supposed I was going on a trip to 7 Latin American countries to speak about Swami, to attend public meetings, and to appoint the new officers of the coordinating committees of each country. Then, in the same trip, I had to go to New York for my business, for a conference that was going to be held there. So my first destiny was Bogota, Colombia. I bought an American Airlines ticket because as I had to go back to New York after that, I preferred to go Buenos Aires, Miami, Miami, Bogota, all the Latin American tour, back to Miami, New York, and my business. I reached Miami, I think 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. My trip to Bogota was at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. That same day at 7 p.m. I was supposed to speak in the public meeting in the University of Bogota. 2,000 people attended. So I decided to stay at the airport. I didn't want to go to the city. I stood there. You know, Miami airport, you know how big it is. Imagine from 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, time is long.
Very long.
Very long. I did my meditation, I had breakfast, I went to one store, I read, I sleep a little, another store. You know, what can you do from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m.? At 2 p.m. I decided to check in, go to because my plane was leaving at 4. I had a bag, and inside the bag I had a purse. Where I had, you know, the travel agencies give you this. At that time we need tickets, real tickets. I had my tickets for all the 7 countries, my passport, my credit cards, and $2,000 in cash. Okay, all together. Not there. I came in, I went through customs, through immigration, so I had everything. But 2 p.m. and I've been everywhere. I couldn't believe it was real. I said, not possible. Because without your tickets, maybe the travel agency can send you again your tickets, but without your passport, at that time I needed visa. Without your passport, you have to go back to your country. The embassy will give you something to go back to your country. You cannot continue your travel. I lost tickets, passport, credit cards, and all my money. I couldn't believe it was happening. I started to go to every place I have been like crazy. I became completely crazy. I went to Lost and Found, nothing. Then I said, well, every minute, or I don't know, a plane leaves, someone might be in a plane saying, thank God for this gift. I was like crazy. And I remember, suddenly came to my mind what Swami says. You know what Swami says? Swami says that we have to ask God in the following way. Do you want to know?
Yes.
You don't.
Yes.
No, you don't show intensity.
Yes.
What? Yeah. Instead of being more alive, you are more depressed. Okay. Supposing that you said yes. Swami says that we have to ask God with such an intensity till He gives up and concedes, or we give up and we are resigned. Okay? Is it understandable?
Yes.
So I remember that, and I said, well, I went everywhere, I didn't find it. My only resource is God. And where can I ask God with such intensity? Another flash of light came into my mind. I went to the first bathroom I found. Because I couldn't sit in a chair and start asking God on the chair. I wanted to have privacy. So I went to the bathroom, closed the door, sat, and started. Not in a loud voice, because someone would say there is a crazy man inside. But in my mind I was saying, Swami please, Swami please, Swami please. Like this, 45 minutes. 40 to 45 minutes. Swami please, Swami please. I reached a moment when I couldn't say once more. Even if you put a gun in my head, I would say shoot. I had no more energy. I was completely, I gave up. So I left the bathroom. I said, well, whatever is your will. And I left, and as soon as I closed the main door of the bathroom, I raised my head, and in front of me where she is sitting, a lady was looking straight to me. And she raised her hand, and my purse was in her hand, and said, sir, is this yours? And I looked at the purse and said, yes, yes. I got it, and the first thing with my monkey mind, I opened it, and everything was inside. When I looked at her again, she had vanished. So, this is Bhagavan Sai Baba. This is in Miami airport and everywhere. And that trip was unbelievable, because, you know, when Swami wants to tell you that he's in charge of everything, tomorrow we'll speak about free will if you want. I have my own experiences with that. When Swami is in charge, he's in charge. I went to Colombia. I was arriving at Colombia, I think at 5 p.m. Colombian time, because of the time difference. At 7 p.m. was the public meeting. I went on the plane, and the plane was delayed. And I said, my chance to attend the public meeting where I was, one of the main speakers, is over. Finally the plane left, we reached Colombia. I was like in a hurry, you have to press a button to see if you go through customs or not. I said, well, Swami is with me. I pressed the button, red. Go to the customs. You know, then I said, that's it. Not only the delay, but now this, so I gave up. So finally, when I finished, I just went out, someone was waiting for me, and they took me directly to the public meeting. And when I reached the public meeting, I went to the stage, and as soon as I sat down, they were announcing my name because it was my turn to speak. You know, like this perfect synchronization. You may think everything is lost. Swami said, don't worry, I take care of everything. Swami has filled my life with his presence, and I tell you, whether you are aware or not, he's filling your lives with his presence. You have to be more aware, to look at him. A friend of mine, we were two people that were appointed as central coordinators of Latin America at the beginning. The other person was Nassin Michaan. He used to spend 6 months per year in the ashram, and he was very close to Swami. Swami allowed him to go to his house. One day he took a picture of Swami in the veranda, and he developed the picture there, and when he saw it, it was very strange, so he took it to Swami, and Swami looked at it and he said, in my grace I let you take a photograph of my divine emanation. I was lucky enough to have a copy of the picture, and I would like you to see it, because Swami was like a human being standing in the veranda. But reading the picture, you can see rays of light emanating from him in all directions, and spirals of lights. And also, you remember when he did like this? In front of him were floating words of light. Like he does this, light energy remains floating in front of him. We didn't see with our eyes what Swami physical form really was. We were not aware. We took it sometimes as a human being. We had no idea. In Brazil, the Sai organization grew so much that the spiritism, you know, spiritism,
Yes.
is a spiritual movement that believes in the dead, and they are connected with the Christian church. It's a mix. The spiritism in Brazil is as big as the Catholic Church. Huge, millions of followers. When the Sai organization started to grow, they decided to send some very important member of the spiritism movement to Prasanthi Nilayam to check that Swami was a fraud. They sent the number 2, Professor Vivaldo. You can check him in Google. And this Professor Vivaldo has spiritual CDs. He can see the aura, he can see many things. That's why he sent him, because he would see Swami and see his aura and see if he was real or not. He went to India. When he came back to Brazil, his first public meeting, 5,000 people attended. He's very famous. And he spoke about his trip to India, and he said that the whole ashram was surrounded by angels. That when Swami came for darshan, spiritual light was like a spiritual shower following of everybody and cleaning the auras of every people. And that when Swami spoke to someone, a pink aura will surround that person and purify him completely and fill that person with love. That is what that person who was a real, genuine spiritual aspirant said about Swami. We didn't see. We are not aware. There are so many things that we took it for granted from Swami. But let me tell you, Swami is the Purnavatar. I will not say was, because his energy is eternal. He hasn't gone anywhere. You know, when I was in Argentina receiving a miracle, or in the airport of Miami, he was in Prasanthi Nilayam, but his power was everywhere. He was just answering to our prayers wherever we are. That relation, that energy is eternal, is completely alive. We have to tune with it. In my life, I don't know how much time do I have.
15 minutes.
15 minutes. In my life, you know, I was very skeptic. I had to see to believe, and I have to see twice to believe, or thrice. And that's why perhaps Swami gave me so many experiences. When I was in an interview room, and Swami gave an interview to a group of people, and a lady stood up, and Swami had made for her a japamala. Those japamalas that were with a silver string, and was broken, and she wanted Swami to repair it. So she said, Swami, can you repair it? And Swami stood up and got hold of the japamala. It was very long. He took hold like here, and the other end touched the floor. And Swami did this, and threw it. And the japamala went in slow motion something that is physically impossible. You know, if I throw a japamala, not only it will go fast, but the other end will hit here, there, or there. But this went in slow motion, and the end touched Swami's fingers. Seeing that was impossible. And when it touched Swami's fingers, it was repaired. The silver inside was sealed, and he gave it back completely repaired. Another time, an Argentinian lady, a girl, said in the morning how much I would like to eat something that Swami gives me. In the afternoon, Swami called the Argentinian group. And in the middle of the interview, he called that girl and said, come. And he said, stretch your hand. She did like this, and Swami said, no, go. So she did like this. Swami waved his hand, and in the palms of the girl appeared a bowl of polenta. You know polenta? Yeah. Corn, hot, oily corn. You know? Not in Swami's hand, but in her hand. And Swami took a piece and put a piece in the mouth of each one of the people there, like 30 people. Not only one, 3 times. 3 times 30? 90. The girl later told us that she thought nothing will be left for me. When she thought that, she looked at the bowl and was intact as in the beginning. After Swami took 90 pieces of it. One day I was, I don't know which one of the experiences.
Córdoba.
Out of 45 I have shared 4 or 5, right? My nose. And the life in the universe, did I tell you that right already? Did I?
No.
Well, these 2 at least.
¿Y Córdoba? ¿Y Córdoba?
Córdoba, 3. Well, 3 more, okay? Do you have patience? Yeah. Okay. Córdoba, Rosario first. Let's go. Esa, la de... ¿Cuál es la otra? La de vida en el universo y la de mi nariz. Okay? 3 experiences. I went to a public meeting in Rosario. One lady, that was at the beginning of the cell organization in Argentina. Imagine a poor country, very few devotees. One lady approached me and said, Leonardo, do you mind to go to Rosario? It's a city 300 kilometers away from Buenos Aires for a public meeting. I said, yes. Always I said yes. So she said, later she came back and she said, I got a theater but on Wednesday. And I said, listen, on Wednesday no one will go. First of all, at that time no one knew Swami. Second, Wednesday is a Labor Day, working day, so who will go? She said, I got it because it was the cheapest day to rent the theater. Okay, I went there. And when I reached there, I saw a big theater. And I said, my God, always it's better to have a small place crowded than a big place empty. You know, 50 people in a small place, you will say is full. But if the place has 300 seats, well, I said, what can we do? I went inside. By the time the meeting was supposed to start, the theater was completely crowded. No one place, even on the aisles where people seated. I asked, well, when I finished, what we did is we speak, and then we show a film on Swami, and then we answer questions and answers. By the time of the questions and answers, suddenly one person raised his hand and said, sir, may I say something? I said, yes, of course. But he said, it's not a question, it's something that happened to me. I said, no mind, no problem, say. He said, well, I live in Córdoba, it's a city 400 kilometers from Rosario. I was there yesterday, I fought with my wife. We had a very bad argument. I felt so bad that I went to the bus station. I took the first bus I found. And I ended in this city. I went to a hotel. And in the middle of the night, I bought a newspaper and I saw the advertisement of this meeting. And I decided to come only for one reason. It said free. Free of charge. But in the middle of the night, I suffered from an ulcer. And I forgot my pills. And in the middle of the night, the pain came and it was unbearable. You know, if you ever had an ulcer, it's like having a knife stabbing your back. He was suffering and he couldn't move. He couldn't even stand up from the bed to ask for help. And suddenly a person appeared in the room from nowhere and told him to relax, put his hand on his stomach, and the pain disappeared. And he said, please believe me, it was not a dream, it was real. And not only that, that the person that came to my room is the one that I have just seen in the film that you have shown. This is Swami. And not only that, I asked that lady how she did it, because she rented the theater, she made an advertisement in the newspaper, she also published some pamphlets that she put all over the city. And I asked her how you did it, because she had no money. And she told me, well, my plan was to ask you money to pay all that. But you know what happened? When the people came into the theater, she was giving one of these pamphlets to everybody. In Argentina, it's a custom that if you go to a theater, you give some tip. First, she refused to accept it, but they were insisting that she thought it's better to accept it than to argue with everyone. When everybody was inside, she counted the money she received, and she had exactly the money needed to pay for everything. Not one said more, no one said less. This is how Swami takes care of everything. One day, I was in an interview with Swami. Before starting my spiritual path, I was very much into the life in another planets. Very interesting, you know, I read books about that. There is a film called The Order of the Divinity. Have you seen it?
Yes.
There, Kasturi speaks as if he was Swami, saying that there is no life, human life anywhere in the universe. You remember? Do you?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I was always confused by that. You know, when Swami gives you an interview and he stands up and says, that's it, you cannot tell him, Swami, go back, sit down, I have more questions. No way. And always, and this was my experience, you may have 100 questions to ask Swami, and he may ask you, how are you, what do you want, and you say, all fine, Swami. And then you leave the interview room and say, I will speak. Well, that time Swami finished the interview, and I don't know why, I did like this. I was sitting, I said, Swami, Swami, and now I need the help. Come. Be me, Neil. Say, Swami, Swami.
Swami, Swami.
He's Leonardo, I am Swami. Both in me. So Swami, I was ready to distribute the packages of Vibhuti, came to me and said, yes, but he did like this. Do you feel it? It's strong or soft? Tell them.
Very strong.
He pressed my shoulder very, very, very strong. Swami had an incredible strength in his fingers. Very strong all the time. And he was like this, looking straight into my eyes. And I said, Swami, there is a movie, The Order of Divinity, where you say, I said all that to him. While I was speaking, I was amazed as how I was able to speak all that to Swami, and how Swami was patiently listening to me. You know, I was being a witness of the situation of me talking to Swami and surprised by it. And Swami all the time looking straight into my eyes and pressing my shoulder very tight. And then he started to speak. I'm sorry to tell you that most of what he has said, I didn't listen. Because I lost myself in his eyes. Suddenly I listened to the words, and then I went into his eyes. It was so straight, so deep into my eyes. I went there and everything disappeared, and then suddenly I was slowly coming back and listening to his voice and coming back. This happened several times during this. But one of the things I remember, he said, there is not like that. It's life in all the universe. There is no one atom of the universe without life. Even in the sun, there are forms of life that you cannot understand. And then, no way. And then, in one moment I thought, how lucky I am that he's pressing my shoulder like this. And in that moment he took his eyes from my eyes to his hand and then back, letting me know that he knew all what I was thinking while he was speaking. Thank you. And now, two more, or one more. I have to choose between the nose and the watch. No, because I have to leave something for tomorrow. If not tomorrow, you will tell me no need. The nose. What was supposed to speak?
De vida. Algo.
No, la otra experiencia. Bueno,
La de vida. La de vida.
La foto siempre. The nose. Once I was supposed to go to India, I bought a ticket. 3 days before my departure, I had an accident. In that accident, my nose was broken in two parts, the bones. Before I had the nose like Brad Pitt. So I went to the hospital. The doctor said, listen, You have a double fracture. You don't need a surgery because the bone is aligned, but it will take from 30 to 40 days to heal, to seal the bone. That doctor gave me a couple of cottons to put inside my nose during the night. It was so painful that I couldn't touch my nose like that. I couldn't do this. If I have to speak with someone, I would do this. Unbearable, the pain. I had no dark, sometimes it becomes dark, nothing, but listen, I couldn't do this. The pain was, I said, what am I going to do? With my ticket to India, 3 days later I was supposed to leave. I said, suddenly some intelligence came to my mind. I said, it's better to suffer there than here. I took the plane. On the plane, my karma was going on because I got a cold. Imagine to blow your nose with a fracture. You have to blow your nose because you cannot be without mucus. But every time I even saw the little stars on my head, I was thinking who I was in my last life, what I'm paying here. You know, each time I had to do this, I said, my God, pain karma, but really pain karma. Well, I reached the ashram. I didn't tell anyone what was happening. Swami came out for the ashram, looked at me, go. Interview room I sat, I didn't say anything to him or to anyone. Swami started to speak. And suddenly he looked at me with the edge of his eye, you know, like this, and smiled. I noticed that, but I didn't realize what was coming. He started to speak, and suddenly he did, and got hold of my nose. I didn't have time. This was like a flash, you know, so fast. I didn't have time either to go back or to scream. I was taken completely by surprise. And he did like this, and very strongly he did. It was 15 or 20 seconds, an eternity, shaking my head. And then release it and continue speaking as if nothing had happened. And I was still with my head like this, and when I was able to remain quiet, I realized my nose was completely healed, my cold was completely gone. So, if you ever get a fracture of your nose, go to see Buenos Dear brothers and sisters, I have written down 45 experiences like this to share with you. I don't know if all of them, but I will try to share most of them. I want also to speak with you about the Sai organization, where we are now, where we are heading. Let me tell you something very simple about it. The best is yet to come. It's all in your hands. We have a mission to fulfill. The important thing I want to share with you, the most important thing is a message from Swami. You are ready. We are ready. We are all ready to fulfill our mission. The time is now, and we are ready. We have to do our part. We have to do much more than what we're doing now. The Sai organization in the United States have to become active, alive, have to become proactive. You have to see how this organization becomes what it's supposed to be, an instrument in Bhagavan's hands to raise the consciousness of all Americans. This organization is not a political club, it's not a social club, it's not a charity organization. It's a spiritual movement to raise human consciousness. It's not a place where the people from India could come here and do their traditions, their rituals. It's not for an elite of people that have the good fortune of knowing about Swami. If you do that, you will be selfish, and being selfish is a sin. To have a big opportunity and a big responsibility and not to fulfill it is a sin. You have to do what you have to do to share the message with 300 million people. So the message of Swami is eternal, is universal. It's not the Dharma of India, it's not the culture of Bharat. It's a universal message for all cultures, for all religions, for everybody. We have to plant those seeds in the culture of our country. Many years ago I went to a Japanese spiritual center. I went inside, they were singing in Japanese. I realized that it was Japanese. I didn't understand the word and never came back. So this went through 1 year and left through the other, no effect on me. You have to think how you can convey the universal message of God to all the people of America. Don't have an Indian cult. Have a Sathya Sai Baba Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba Center to share his message to as many people as possible. You have to be careful about how you present yourself, how you receive the people, what you do inside. You can dress with saris if every day you are dressing saris, but think about the people that will come to the centers. Feel that they have to realize that this is not another religion, that the message is for them. Help them receive that message. This is the opportunity that you have, don't miss it. Don't disappoint Swami, because he will never disappoint you. Dear brothers and sisters, I'm really happy and grateful to Swami for this opportunity of being with you. I will try to share not only more experiences, more practical lessons, and also the message I got from Swami, the one that I was able to learn from him. What I want really to finish this today is just to let you know that Swami is the most incredible source of love that you can imagine. He is ready to be with us all the time. He will show his presence, he will encompass your life with miracles all the time. So let him be in your lives. Open your hearts, open your minds, and tell yes to him. One day a brother told me that he has signed a divine contract. You know this, you are in America, a formal legal contract. No? Hereby, and legal, he had the idea of signing a contract and giving it to Swami. So he did it and gave it to Swami, giving his life to him, but in a very formal way. Like if you are in a business and you commit a legal contract. When I heard that, I said, what a wonderful idea. That was birthday time. I don't know if the president of India or the prime minister was in the ashram, but I got the idea and I said, I will do my contract with Swami. So I put in a piece of paper formally, as I said, hereby, I, my name, and I put in writing in that paper my commitment to give my life to him. And then I signed it. And I said, well, this contract will be executed the moment I give it to Swami. Next day was birthday time. So much security, I was not being able to sit even on the veranda. But I had my contract. When everything was over, lines of security members were standing in front of the mandir. Swami went inside, I think with the Prime Minister, to the interview room, so it was impossible to get closer to him. But I had my contract. So I stood up and I started to walk. And as I walked, the lines were open for me. One line, then I continued walking, the other line, and they were not allowing anyone to move a step forward. And for me, they were opening the lines as if I was invisible, I don't know. And I reached the exit of Swami's room, and there was this car, you know, the golf cart, and I was on the other side of the cart, and Swami came out, and when he came out, he looked at me, and he stretched his hand and asked me for my contract. So I gave him the contract, and he took it, and he left the cycle van hall with my contract in his hand. So I offer you the possibility of writing your own contracts, your divine contracts, and offer it to Swami. He will gladly accept it. Jai Sai Ram.